So what about talking about like the police involvement in like dealing with calls and crime? I mean, what sort of you know what sort of research have you guys seen as far as like what are the police dealing with on the average call?
Well, I mean, the average call is, we're talking, and this is nationwide, there's a trend, right? Over 80% of the calls that police respond to or deal with have to do with traffic. And it's the overwhelming number of them are have to do with traffic. So, of course, focusing on that and taking care of the sorts of issues that cause wrecks and that cause these sorts of problems is going to mean you need less police response to those sorts of things. But even then, with what's left, the remaining 20% or so, you're still talking a small percentage of that is, you might call like violent crimes or potentially even property crimes. You have a lot of other things, though, like welfare checks. You have mental health calls. You have all of these other sorts of things that, to be fair to the police department, things that they're having to respond to because the city is not adequately funding the services that actually address those needs, right? Which causes harm to everybody. I know that there have been a lot of calls for police to receive mental health care training. I personally am completely against it because that's not their area. That is not what they're for. And the simple fact of the matter is, I've worked a lot with unhoused community and with a lot of people with mental health issues. Every time a police officer shows up, because they're armed, because they have body armor, because of all these sorts of things, it escalates the situation, plain and simple. And it's not really even the individual officer's fault, right? That's just the nature of the institution. And so actually having services that the city provides for and has, and actually pays attention to provide for the needs that are there apart from law enforcement is, I think, crucial to taking care of a lot of these problems, particularly when it comes to, mitigating and making sure that you don't have scenarios like we had with Benny Edwards or like we've had with any number of other people where those are mental health call outs is what they should be. And there are mental health care professionals who need to be addressing those, not police.
We also have a really great opportunity with dispatch to empower and encourage dispatchers to make sound decisions, not only for themselves and their jobs, which they might be motivated by. If, they are, I'm not sure of all the details here. If you have anybody with dispatch experience, I would love to hear this, just to, what does it look like and feel like to be in the middle of all of that? Because I know that's a really tough job. But even just thinking about triaging and how important it is to get people with the right services as quickly as possible is so important. So if there was another sort of city service that was able to take some of these responsibilities, specifically with the likes of mental health calls, off of the plates of the police, that then allows the police to be more effective and efficient with the other things they need to handle that are the places that they need to work with. Now, over time, I think most of the humans in the world will probably find that they need less brute force to deal with things and more things such as mental health services and community resource centers. And wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to ask the police to do those things? They're not experts in those areas. Let's find people who are experts in those areas and make their systems and their structure sustainable enough so that someone at dispatch, when they get a call, they can make a really quick, sound decision on where to send this call and who should be receiving the call and who should actually go out and make the impact in the community at that moment based on what that call and what the individual on the other line needs.
Yeah, and so I wanted to pull up real fast to kind of go with that in talking about resources. I mean, this deal here is showing kind of how much the average officer sort of makes, and I think people have in their idea or in their head that police are somehow like underpaid, or this is some sort of like, tough job with long hours, and they just don't get appropriately compensated for it. And the average police officer in Oklahoma City, with their basic taxes, just payroll taxes included, is making over $70,000. And like a starting officer, I mean, like you can see here kind of what a recruit, I mean, they start in the mid 50s, just with, for like salary. And then they get a very good insurance, retirement, and other stuff. So you can really see that, especially once you've been there for a while. I mean, many officers are making six figures, to be out doing like traffic work. I mean, like it's like when an insurance adjuster might actually be a better solution. Does a cop need to come and do all this stuff? Or again, going to alternatives, like as far as like services, like whether it's mental health or addiction or whatever. I can tell you, talking to a lot of social workers, the average social worker does not make $70,000 a year. in case you didn't know.